Another factor, of course, around this revolution is the on-demand part of it, right? Consumers of all ages, but particularly, again, the millennials and the Gen Z, are wanting to watch anytime, anywhere, at their convenience, whether it's binging or just snacking in between classes or at work. And this is really, really impacting the linear television business, right? It's putting sports in that catbird seat. And it's interesting to see even as award shows at the Grammys last night, right? I was watching the telecast, but I already knew all of the results. And how are award shows even going to create that need for excitement or drive? Although I have to say, seeing Madonna in like an assless outfit was, worth the price of admission, I guess. 56 and she still got it. I love that. But the award show dilemma, very few events have the power to aggregate audience in the way sports do. And of course, most other programming is moving to an on-demand world. So we are seeing TV ratings dropping. And I generally don't show this slide a lot now that we are part of the Walt Disney Company and the Walt Disney Media Networks. And last night, as I was looking at my deck, I thought we should change that title because it's pretty, TV ratings in decline. This is a trend. I mean, I will say the TV business is alive and well and not going anywhere. But it's important to look at this trend, and of course, all of the networks and cablers are as well, because it's indicative of where people are spending their time. They're no longer just sitting in front of the television 5.5 hours every night. They're multitasking, as we know. They're on other devices, right? And especially younger ones. So younger consumers are watching less TV. Right? And any of you with kids out there know you probably have to put limits on how much time your kids can be online, not how much time they can be in front of the TV. So the last part of this equation around the revolution is social, and we all talk a lot about it, right? What does it mean? It is necessary. At Maker, we say it's the EPG of this generation. It's really how consumers are discovering content. It's a massive discovery engine. The next 12 to 24 months are going to be incredibly exciting as we see social platforms get directly into the mix as distributors, right? So Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and others entering directly into a first window distributor position, not just amplifying, but distributing. And at Maker, we are very, very focused on social, as I'll talk about in a few minutes. So, again, this is something that younger consumers are driving, but it's actually being adopted much more broadly, right? And the smartphone is driving a lot of it too. These devices are amazing. I haven't gone for the 6 Plus, but now I'm jealous of people that have it. I went for the iPhone 6 and I was like, why didn't I get the bigger one? It was that one clutch purse that it wouldn't fit into that I spent way too much money on. I was like, I can't, my 6 Plus wouldn't fit into anyway. So as these mobile smartphones become better and better and better, I believe we'll start to see that people really will watch content of all lengths on any platform. So where are we going? I think it can be good to take a second before we look at where we're going and look at where we've come from. And if you just take a slice of the last 10 years, and of course this is not exhaustive, but I thought it was interesting because YouTube turns 10 this year, at how much change has actually occurred in the last decade as compared to the 40 years prior, right? With television kind of owning the household. And look at what's happened in the last 10 years. YouTube becoming a global force and actually really creating a new format, short form video and vlogging, which didn't really exist before. That's a format that YouTube helped create. Netflix just started streaming in 2007. Right? I had just started at Yahoo. That's when I departed from my lawyering days. And now it's not only not a surprise to see them at the Globes and the Emmys, we expect to see them at the Globes and the Emmys. And then, of course, skipping to this year, Amazon, where you get your diapers and your, I don't know, Halloween costumes, is also winning Golden Globes, which is pretty amazing. Meaning any entity with a distribution outlet is now a content creator and a publisher. Something else I want to call out here is, of course, the roll-ups that have started to happen in the last 2 to 3 years. First, Awesomeness, right, being acquired by DreamWorks. Disney acquiring Maker, Hearst making a significant investment in awesomeness, Peter Chernon's Otter Media acquiring Fullscreen, and many, many others, right? And what's keying about this is traditional media's desire to have that direct access to the consumer, to not be disintermediated, to have direct access, which at Maker we do. But it's interesting because our access is comes from a very interesting source, and that is the talent themselves. And this is a huge, huge change from 10 years ago. 10 years ago, was it 10 years ago? 2005, I was still a talent lawyer, and I worked with the likes of Halle Berry, Kevin Spacey, Daniel Craig, which was pretty awesome, and others. And if you think about it, big, massive movie stars, larger than life, right? But they're depending on their access to their fan base through distributors. Now, Maker works with PewDiePie, right? The new celebrity. And he looks like he lives next door, and he probably does, right? And he's in his messy bedroom broadcasting video games and controls an audience of almost 35 million subscribers. These are self-made from the bottom up celebrities, and they take their brand very, very seriously and control access to their consumer. So, we've heard a lot about them. Variety doing a study that raised eyebrows that among teens, the top 5 most influential people, YouTubers. And of course, brands getting into the mix, YouTubers having clothing lines, being on magazine covers, doing tons and tons of brand deals. Their influence is very, very important. And something I've learned since becoming a programmer with these kids, and some of them adults, is that they listen to their audience. They listen to their audience, and they won't do anything that could impact their relationship with their audience. So it's very, very hard to do something that's not organic because they just won't do it. Money is not a factor. And this is something that I've taken to heart, and as a programmer, realized I don't know best. I don't know more than my audience knows. I need to listen to them. I'm not programming for me, I'm programming for them. So we've borrowed this best practice, and in fact, it shows up in one of the biggest series that Maker produces, epic rap battles of history. I'm often asked, Erin, when will YouTube have its House of Cards? And I always answer, YouTube already has its House of Cards, right? It just doesn't look and feel like television. It's epic rap battles. This series, right, now going into its almost 5th season, gets more than 40 million views an episode. It's a 2 to 3 minute format, short form, where historical figures, if you guys haven't seen it, go to battle each other through rap. And it garners per episode, right, as many or more unique viewers than a lot of very popular cable television that's aimed at the same demographic, which is that young male demographic. Now, one of the things that we do with ERB is something that this YouTube celebrity does intrinsically. They do it just instinctively, and that is we listen to the audience. So every episode of ERB, as we call Epic Rap, is cast by the audience. We ask at the end, who won? Who's next? And then we actually take the audience suggestions and program the next episode.